So today in math, we are starting module 3, compare fractions with the same denominator. So let's review real quick. Let's say I have the fraction 3/6. This is my numerator. This is my fraction bar. This is my denominator. Denominator. So we are looking for fractions with the same denominator today. And our essential question is, how can you compare fractions with the same denominator? So when I think of the word compare in math, I'm thinking of greater than, less than, or equal to. Those are my three choices. Greater than, less than, or equal to. I'm comparing them. I'm finding out which one is bigger, which one is smaller, or if they are equal. And we are looking for fractions with the same denominator. That is the bottom number, or same number of pieces. Okay, same number of parts in our fraction. We're going to be using fraction strips today. Remember, fraction strips are these, where you take the same size piece of paper and you can cut it into all sorts of different fractions. Like this is one whole. This is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 pieces. So it would be 1/6, 1/6, 1/6. Sorry, I'm crooked. 1/6, 1/6, 1/6, or 6/6. This is a fraction strip. So when it says to draw a fraction strip or use a fraction strip, this is what it's talking about. All right, now that we are, oh no, my sticky note was super sticky. Now that we are refreshed on our vocabulary, let's get busy on what we're doing today. We are going to start with unlocking the problem to really dig in and see what it means to compare fractions with the same denominator. So let's read, make sure we understand all the words, and then we will read again to find our problem for the day. It says, Jeremy and Christina are each making a quilt block. Both blocks are the same size and both are made with 4 equal size squares. 2/4 of Jeremy's squares are green. 1/4 of Christina's squares are green. Whose quilt block has more green squares? Okay, I understood all the words, so now I'm going to read it again and look for the information that I need. Jeremy and Christina are each making a quilt block. Both blocks are the same size and both are made of 4 equal size squares. So what is my denominator going to be for both of them? Well, Jeremy has 4 and Christina has 4 squares. 2/4 of Jeremy's squares are green. 1/4 of Christina's squares are green. Whose quilt block has more green squares? Well, this is important. Jeremy has 2/4 and Christina has 1/4 green that are green. So, now that we found our important information, let's keep reading. It says, compare fractions of a whole. Shade 2/4 of Jeremy's quilt blocks. Well, it says that they are green, so I'm going to grab my green crayon just so we can make it official. And 2 of Jeremy's quilt blocks are green. Shade 1/4 of Christina's quilt blocks. Well, that means 1 of the 4 blocks are green, right? Okay, so now we need to compare the shaded parts. Who has more green squares? Well, Jeremy does, because 2 of his are shaded, but only 1 of Christina's. So Jeremy has more. So my comparison says 2/4 is greater than 1/4. The greater fraction will have the larger amount of the whole shaded. So since he has more shaded, that means his is bigger. So blank quilt block has more green squares. That would be Jeremy's quilt block has more green squares. All right, So we can compare fractions of a group. Let's read this one. It says Jen and Maggie each have 6 buttons. Shade 3 of Jen's buttons to show the number of buttons that are red. Okay, so shade 3 of Jen's buttons to show the number that are red. 3 of her buttons are now red. Shade 5 of Maggie's buttons to show the number that are red. All right, Maggie, you get 5 red ones. And when y'all are doing this on ClassCake, you can always use your highlighter tool to do that. Write a fraction to show the number of red buttons in each group. Compare the fractions. Okay, so first I need to know my denominator. How many buttons do we have total? I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 buttons. 6 is my denominator. How many buttons does Maggie have? She has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 buttons. So we have the same denominator. So now we need to compare red buttons. How many red buttons does Jen have? She has 1, 2, 3. How about Maggie? She has 5. So we've written our fractions. Now we need to compare them. Who has more red buttons? Well, Maggie does. We can see that from our picture or our model. So let's read. It says there are the same number of buttons in each group, so you can count the number of red buttons to compare the fractions. 3 is less than 5. 3 red buttons is less than 5 red buttons. So 3/6 is less than 5/6. So Maggie has a greater number of red buttons. So in this, unlocking the problem, we have compared fractions in 2 different ways. First, we compared fractions of a whole. Then we compared fractions of a group. Okay? You can do it either way. You just have to make sure that you have your fractions correct and they have that same bottom number or the same denominator. Okay? Go ahead on to the next slide and watch the next lesson video.